behind bioresonance scanning. Now, bioresonance scanning is a technology, a scientific technology that I developed almost 20 years ago at the Hansa Center here. Well, not this Hansa Center, this is a new one. But I developed this, and doctors all over the place now are starting to implement these type technologies because, and the only reason a doctor would ever do something like bioresonance scanning is because we're all tired of guessing. What you pay your doctor for generally is their best educated guess. They don't know if you're going to have an allergic reaction to a medicine until you have the reaction, right? They're guessing as to the dosage based on what the science seems to say for a generic person. So bioresonance scanning is so phenomenal, and I'm excited to talk to you about it today because you're going to be able to see not only what we're doing now, but where the science is heading. And the technologies are enabling more and more and more advances to be brought to bear on real life and death cases and illnesses of the world. So bioresonance scanning is an offshoot of a lot of different sciences. And you know, it's interesting, when we graduate as doctors, they told us that we're in the top 1/4 of 1% of the most educated people in the world. And yet most of doctoring is still based on guesswork. And right now, 88% of medicine treats only the symptoms. So doctors in natural medicine are trying to quit guessing. We've come up with ways that we can actually access how your body runs itself and really access the computer system of your body to figure out not only what's wrong, but what do we need to do to fix it. And we can know, because of the testing, whether we did it correctly or not. So everyone has heard of DNA, right? We see this double helix that we call deoxyribonucleic acid. This is the blueprint for the body, right? There is so much DNA in the human body that if you lined it up from one human body, if you lined it all up edge to edge, or end to end, I mean, it would reach 744 million miles. That's enough to go from Earth to Jupiter and back. That's a lot of DNA, isn't it? 744 million miles. That each strand of DNA in every cell is 10 feet long. Of course, I think in my body, since I'm 6'7", I think I could probably go from Earth to Saturn and back.
I got shorted.
Yeah, yours is probably Earth to Mars at least. But we know the DNA is the blueprint of the body, right? We've all heard that it's the blueprint. Now this is like a blueprint of your house. You notice the blueprint, no matter where you go, the same thing for a house is going to look just like this. The blueprint only deals with the walls and doors and windows, the shape of your house, and because of that, you wake up every single day looking like the same person. Anybody here ever wake up looking like somebody else? Yeah, no, that's before you brushed your hair, right? And it's so fascinating because what enables us to change dynamically? See, the blueprint doesn't change, so what does change? We found out, by the way, DNA isn't how we can explain every illness, because they found out there's not enough genes to actually code for everything that's going on in the human body. Matter of fact, there are bugs that have more DNA sequences than we do. So they had to come up with another idea as to why we get sick and why we break down in our ability to adapt correctly to our environment. Now, the project called the ENCODE project started studying what's now called junk matter. Now this is typical science. We used to throw out this stuff around the DNA that we thought was just junk matter. Doesn't do anything, so let's just throw it away. I liked this slide because it was like junk DNA. But they were throwing away this tissue that was around the DNA. And it turns out that that tissue that was called junk matter is actually 4 million biophotonic switches that enable the body to adapt instantly and correctly to changes in its internal and external environment. So if you walk from inside of here outside and the temperature is greatly different, your body has to adapt instantly and correctly to that, and that's not a function of your DNA, that's a function of your epigenetic switches, those 4 million biophotonic switches that surround the DNA. This is kind of a artist's rendition of the ENCODE concept, where you have almost like a 4 million digit combination lock that can be dynamically changed. The switches are on or off depending on what's going on. So for a lot of you eating sandwiches, your body is now switching all these different switches to enable you to adapt to the fact that now you're fed, whereas before you were hungry. So this is our basic concept of what DNA looks like. It looks like this double helix. But you want to see what DNA really looks like? Look at this. How beautiful is this? This is a strand of DNA cross-section. Doesn't look anything like this simplistic double helix, does it? This epigenetic aspect of the body you might see as being kind of like the control mechanism, the software of the body. But how does that software get changed? How do we change the software? Because we know that the blueprint is just the DNA, right? That's the DNA, but it's epigenetics that tells your body, I can arrange everything in my house differently. I can have dirty dishes in the sink. I can have a sofa and chairs right here or there. I can move it dynamically. That's what enables your body to change dynamically to your thoughts, to your environment, to what you put in your body, to the medicines, to the bacteria, to the viruses, and adapt correctly. That's all controlled by those 4 million biophotonic switches. But it turns out, with bioresonance scanning, the way it works is that we're accessing the body's biophotonic communication systems, the electromagnetic communication systems. When you take your car to the shop nowadays, your mechanic really isn't like the old mechanics who they just kind of listen to your car and they can tell you what's going wrong. Now the mechanic just plugs in the diagnostic computer into your car's computer to try to figure out what's going on, right? What if your doctor could do that? What if your doctor could access the information systems of your body to figure out, number one, what's wrong, what should fix it, how much do you need to take, are you going to be allergic, are you going to be toxic, how many times a day do you need to put that medicine back in, how many days do you need to take the remedy, is that all you need or is there something else you need? Is it a chemical fix, a structural fix, a stress correction that's needed, or a biophotonic, bioenergetic correction that's needed? All of that now can be figured out using the bioresonance scanning. And it takes the doctor out of the equation to a large degree. So we actually know, like how many people believe the heart is a pump? Oh, come on, hands. Would it shock you to know the heart is not a pump? I mean, that just seems like the most fundamental truth of medicine, right? That the heart is a pump. And no one's really talking about it because it's not going to change anything in medicine in the way they treat it. The heart is not a pump. It's not pushing blood. Blood moves autonomously of the heart. This was presented through, I want to say, Temple University in research by Ralph Marinelli and quite a few other cardiologists. Even Jacques Cousteau got in on this research and found that even the simplest single-chambered hearts of marine animals is not pushing blood. Blood moves through vortex action. So if the heart isn't pushing blood, then what's its function? Well, it turns out that the heart is controlling those epigenetic switches through laser-like emissions of light transmissions out of the heart. So this slide really does kind of represent all this light information, almost like fiber optics, that is resequencing those 4 million biophotonic switches that surround all that 744 million miles of DNA in your body to adapt instantly and correctly. How many people thought, and were taught, that the nervous system is what's running everything? Come on, show of hands. Everybody knows that, right? Not what's running everything. We now know, and we've known for a long time, but we didn't have a better explanation in science and medicine. We know that a nerve impulse, which is very easy to track how fast a nerve impulse is traveling, Okay? The fastest a nerve impulse can go is from 2 miles an hour, which is about slow speed of walking, to 400 miles an hour, which sounds really fast until you consider the speed of light, which is infinitely faster, right? The nervous system, they say, is analogous to a dial-up modem in its ability to transmit information. I don't know about you, but I'm really happy not to have to deal with dial-up modems anymore.
Amen.
They say with the nervous system, if that was like the dial-up modem, it would take 84 years to download the 20 million books that are in the Library of Congress. Every little jot and tittle and letter in every book in the Library of Congress, 84 years. With a fiber optic connection, a purely fiber optic, it would take about 48 seconds to download 20 million books. That's what this photonic aspect of the body is doing. This is what is enabling you to adapt to the fact that my voice is coming from this direction. If I walked around the room, your body would have to adapt to that change of frequency as to where I am in the room. That is the photonic aspects, but it's being transmitted through the heart to the epigenetic switches, and that's how you change and adapt to all those changes. So this is one of my heroes. This is Dr. Fritz Albert Popp. He's out of Germany. And he was talking about the science behind this, because again, that's what we're here to talk about, is some of the science behind it. He says that weak light emissions orchestrate the body. Again, this is contradictory to what we always got taught. What I got taught, and what every doctor here got taught, was that the nervous system is what's orchestrating the body. Now, a lot of people would think of the body as being kind of like an assembly line of chemicals, and it just one runs into the next one, into the next one, into the next one, and it just kind of works. Like we're some chemical bag that's just kind of works. No, there is software to the body. And you really can access the information within the body, much like this room is completely saturated with radio waves. All the radio stations, if I had a radio in my hand here, I could tune this radio to 99.1 in Wichita and get all the music and all the information off that one little wavelength of light. And we take that for granted, that we can just pick out one frequency out of the soup of cosmic frequencies and cell phone waves and television waves, and all of our bodies are emitting frequencies. And in that soup, we can still select out just one and get all this data off of it. Now, the body is not a whole lot different. We're just a condensation of energy. And when we can test using the BioResonance scanning, you can access and pick out just one frequency. Or you could string together frequencies, much like we do words, to form an electromagnetic sentence that gives us even more specific information from the body. So instead of just being able to say, like computer systems now are doing, which can't do what BioResonance scanning is doing, they could say, well, what does your body think about broccoli? Well, the computer would just say, yeah, maybe. But that you don't know if it's yeah because you're allergic to it, or yeah because you're toxic to it, or yeah because you need it. So with BioResonance scanning, we could say, of all the different foods that you're eating, what's the top worst ones in the way of an allergic reaction or allergic response? Of all the chemical problems in the body that are going on at any time of the night or day in any posture, out of that list of problems, what are the top 10? How's that? Because a lot of the time, a patient only has a problem at 2 in the morning, and by the time they go to the doctor's office, it's what? At best, maybe 8 or 9 in the morning, and the problem isn't going on. So unless the doctor can actually compensate for time, that problem's never going to show up. So we can even write electromagnetic sentences that compensate for time and posture by accessing this photonic information. Emissions occur, according to Dr. Popp, at the quantum level, meaning it doesn't have to travel across tissues, so it doesn't have to follow nerves. Dr. Popp says photonic communication enables every cell to know what every other cell is doing. This is the essence of therapeutics and human performance. Okay, that's the science. Now, BioResonance scanning harnesses the electromagnetic system of the doctor's body to set up frequency sequences to challenge the patient's biocommunication system. That's a lot of verbiage just to kind of say, like, if I had a cell phone and I dial in a frequency, because the phone number is a frequency, 316-686-5900. The only phone that's ever going to ring is the one at the front desk here at Hansa Center. That's the only phone in the universe that has that frequency. So imagine if I knew the frequency for, let's say, a tapeworm, and I could dial that number into a frequency generator like a phone, but instead of trying to find the phone with that matching frequency, I'm looking for the matching frequency inside of your body. And then it picks up, hello, tapeworm. But that's kind of how this works. We're actually frequency challenging the body to see if that frequency exists in the body. So right now, the clinic record is a 12.5-foot long tapeworm. Before that, it was a 9-footer. Before that, shorter and shorter ones, but lots and lots of worms. You know, it's just interesting because there's no way I should find the frequency for what's called Diphyllobothrium latum. That's the Latin name for a tapeworm, unless you had that molecular structure inside of your body. So to do this, our doctors that are using bioresonance scanning use bioenergetic hand modes. We're going to see this in a minute, what this looks like. These are different positions made with the physician's fingers, okay? And they transmit frequencies into the body. When the movement and tension are set out in the tissues, as when the fingers are bent. Now this is research done by other people. This isn't mine. This is actually reported by Dr. Oshman back in the year 2000. But when we bend the fingers and do different positions, what he says is that we are setting up tension in the fabric or matrix, and the length of the molecular antenna of the myofascial system, and thereby it sets up different resonance frequencies. Now this is just like what you see our doctors doing, different hand positions. It's not a sign language. Each position represents a different frequency. Now frequency is just a generic term we use, right? Because it's really, when we do this, it's microamps and wave slope and polarity and a certain amount of hertz. So we just generically call that a frequency. Now this is research reported by Dr. Horowitz in the year 2004. Another mechanism for generating mode energy, the hand mode itself's energy, is the central nervous system impulse, which we call thought, which is itself light or biophotons. To create and transmit it, photoelectrical frequencies from the doctor's hand. In these ways, hand modes, which are frequencies, are capable of selectively stimulating a specific pathology. So what I'm saying is, like, we're creating a frequency and we're looking for a match, if you will, in the patient's body. Now this is an adjunctive diagnostic technique. We can't say this is something that we can say, thus saith me, you have a tapeworm, until the science gets better and better. Probably until it's computerized. Because, you know, it doesn't exist unless it's a computer that runs it. We are energetic beings, and that's all that BioResonance scanning works off of, and it's working off the polarity of the body. Now this is the best picture I could find for representing the polarity of the body, but basically polarity is like the negative and positive charge on your car battery. Okay? Our body, being electrical to some degree, is set up on different polarities, as you see on the chart here. So we can crisscross polarities, and anybody who has used jumper cables, where is my jumper cable picture? It's not here. Okay. Anybody who has used jumper cables knows if you put the jumper cables on a good battery and you accidentally touch the other two ends together, you're crossing a negative with a positive, it's going to spark. Our doctors can't spark for you, but the frequency is happening nonetheless with each different change of the hand position. This is what we call the hand modes. So everything emits its own unique electromagnetic signature based upon its unique molecular structure. So going off that tapeworm analogy, I should never find the frequency for a tapeworm unless that molecular structure exists in the body. I shouldn't find bone displacements, as a chiropractor would look for. The frequency of that is even detectable using bioresonance scanning. I shouldn't find emotional frequencies unless you've actually gotten those electromagnetic signatures stuck in the tissues. We can find a whole gamut of information using bioresonance scanning. So if it was a rod-shaped bacterium like this one, it's going to have a different electromagnetic signature than the spiculed one right there. That spiny looking one. It's going to have a different signature. So every problem in the body sets up its own unique electromagnetic signature. Okay, this is like the information systems of your body. So we could actually do the bioresonance scanning to detect the problem frequency. And then we can actually test using carryover resonance to the correction. So again, it doesn't come down to what I think. It doesn't come down to a protocol, right? What is a protocol? That's some canned treatment. It says, come one, come all. Everyone's going to take these 10 remedies. I mean, why come to the Hansa Center if all I'm going to do is put you on what I wrote in my book? Right? Well, at the Hansa Center, we have over 4,000 remedies. We have all of the best remedies that we've accumulated. And guess what? When we get to test you, it may not even be formulas that I developed. It may be some other doctors. I didn't develop all 4,000 remedies. So we're able to specifically test what's gone wrong all over the body from head to toe, even in the electromagnetic fields of the body, and figure out the specific frequencies of the remedies needed by your body to heal itself. Notice I didn't say the remedies that would heal you, the remedies that will kill the bacteria, the remedy that will kill the parasite, the remedy that has the frequency, almost like software that I'm installing into the patient's body, and the body then can generate the frequencies to kill the parasites. Works so much better than trying to kill it for the body. So, every problem has a frequency. And with bioresonance scanning, we can test to find out virtually any type of problem in the body and the mind. So if you have depression, there's a lot of problems setting that up. That if I could identify everything that's gone wrong in the body, that's what our doctors are looking for. This is why we spend so much time with each patient, because we're not relying on machines to do the work. We're not relying purely on remedies to do the work and supplements. We're literally going through head to toe to find anything that's interfering with your body's ability to heal itself. And we're working every moment to restore God's perfect design of your body. From there, disease falls away. So we're not masters of named diseases, although we were trained in all those pathologies. We're masters of what it takes to restore what is optimum, which is the whole point of medicine anyway, right? Restore what's optimum, not suppress disease. And yet, for all of medicine's hallowed halls and the volumes of medical research that are in the libraries of medicine, 88% of their own, by their own admission, 88% of the medicines and treatments treat only the symptoms. So that allows you to still have the illness underneath that medicine. You just can't feel it. So you can see why doctors that do these kind of techniques are so interested in stopping the guesswork of doctoring. I've seen people even allergic to B vitamins. You know, you sit there and go in as a doctor, really? You're allergic to a B vitamin? How can that be? You need B vitamins. If you can't take B vitamins, then you're dead, because you got to have them. And yet, if I put them on a supplement without testing, they might have a really severe reaction, even to something you would think they would never have a reaction to, like B vitamins. So what is the future of bioresonance scanning? I hate to kind of say it, but it is kind of like the Star Trek medical tricorder. It really is. I am not that much of a Trekkie, although, think about it. Captain Kirk, way back in the 60s, 70s, I'm dating myself. What would he do? He'd flip open this lid and he'd talk into this thing, and people thought it was all sci-fi, right? Now we have that technology. It's cell phones, right? So the technology is advancing. Here's one I found, that's the wireless cell phone heart monitor. Now this is something that remotely can determine what's going on with your heart. I mean, the technology is coming, and there's other Japanese cell phone companies that are developing phones that you'll just be able to put your finger on the touch screen, and it will tell you all kinds of cool things about what's going on inside of your body at that moment. The technology is coming. It's very simplistic, and bioresonance scanning is going to be a dinosaur eventually. But that's kind of okay as long as the technology goes out there. Because again, what is it, like 990-something thousand people are dying prematurely due to medical accidents and drugs that they took. They're just incredible. If you just knocked out that one aspect of like, maybe we could test the medicine before we give it to the patient to see if they're going to be allergic to it. Let's test it to see if it's even going to work before they take it. Instead of saying, wow, this works for everybody. Okay, now let me give you an example. Aspirin. Everyone's heard that aspirin's good for your heart, right? Little baby aspirin. Did you know that only works for 1/3 of the people? 66% of the people aren't getting any benefit from that. Again, what we think we know is just our best educated guess in medicine. 66% of people are not getting any benefit. The future is now, with the bioresonance scanning, it's a dynamic way to access the information systems of the body. So instead of the doctor giving you a medicine and saying, okay, we'll see you in a month, we'll see you in 3 months, I already put you on the world's best medicines, we can actually see right then and there what it's going to do for that person. We can actually see the next day how the body didn't adapt to that correctly, and help finesse the body to opening up the interferences that were set up by even that perfectly treated or that perfect treatment we gave the day before. The body is being pushed by our doctors constantly to reveal where a breakdown in its ability to adapt is occurring so that we can figure out how to fix that. So whether we shine a blue light in your eyes and your body freaks out to that, that's a loss of adaptation, right? Your body cannot adapt to that blue light. If you went outside and looked up at the sky today, thankfully it's blue. But guess what? If you cannot process blue correctly, all kinds of software problems go wrong in your body. And when that happens, we can actually test for that, see where it's breaking down using the bioresonance scanning. We can detect the problems and the correction all in that office visit. So I think this is kind of interesting here because it's showing how that they're starting to try to grow neurons on computer chips. Nerve tissue growing on a computer chip so that they can interface with the nervous system and the energetics of the body. The technology is coming, folks, to where you're going to be able to get all this through machines instead of a doctor doing different hand positions. It's just frequencies. Now, this is an artist's rendition of the epigenetics that is being applied by the feds, whatever that is. Which agency was it? I don't know. It was reported on Fox News. A portable box-sized scanner could map out your body's DNA in less than an hour. And the feds want it added to the agency's tool bag for Homeland Security. I should have known that was right there. So again, they're considering using portable instant scanners of your DNA. Isn't that wild? Now you might say, well, this doesn't have a lot to do with bioresonance scanning. But it's a baby step in that direction to where, guess what's coming? That medical tricorder, where the doctor holds this little computerized device in his hand that transmits a frequency into the body, monitors the yes or no of it all, and comes up on the computer screen and says, wow, you have a tapeworm. And these are the possible selections that you would use to fix it. All based on frequencies, not based on blood tests. The nice thing about this is we can generally get the lab test to say the same thing that we find here. You know what the success rate of a lab test in medicine is, conventional medicine? 3%. They only get what they're looking for 3% of the time. The last time I checked, we were at 86% successful. Like if we found the frequency for hepatitis C, we'd run the lab test and the lab work came back, yes, you have hepatitis C. Or if you had a tapeworm, gave the body the corrective frequencies it needs so that the body could deal with that. So I'm not treating anything but the body still. And guess what? Out comes a tapeworm. So this is coming. So what does bioresonance scanning do? It enhances every known conventional and natural medicine science. It's often more sensitive and more accurate than the lab testing and imaging. It brings reproducible testing. Now this is a key. A lot of these computerized machines that everyone are all hot on, you put your hand on the little system and it reads your scan. Ask the doc to let you put your hand on again 15 minutes later. It's not going to say anything the same as the first time. Do it again 15 minutes after that. It's going to read differently when you put your hand on the scanner. So my question is, how reproducible is it? Bioresonance scanning, every doctor that does it is going to find the same thing every time. So bioresonance scanning allows the doctor to flow dynamically through the interweaving of structural, chemical, stress, and bioenergetic issues. Those are the 4 ways you can get sick. Every single illness that somebody can experience can only come from those 4 different ways. Structural problems, that's the physicality of your body, the tissues of your body. Chemical problems, such as bacteria, viruses, amino acids, anything you can name, allergies, toxins. Stress-related problems, which everyone immediately jumps to emotions, which is part of it, but there's mental stress, barometric pressure stress, geopathic stress, and enviropathic stressors, inherited epigenetic stressors. All kinds of things fall into that one stress category. And then the bioenergetic issues, really that neurophotonic aspect and the communication systems of your body breaking down. It could be a software glitch. It's not a deficiency of antibiotics, maybe. It's not a deficiency of chemo drugs. It's actually software glitches that are creating whatever pathology is happening. And we get to see such good results and such rapid results that you have to almost, the doctor, you sit back and you go, I don't have an explanation for how that worked. Many times to a patient, I sit there and go, wow. When you take somebody that was paralyzed for 10.5 years, couldn't move one leg completely for 10.5 years, couldn't wiggle their toes, couldn't wiggle anything, and with the application of one homeopathic remedy combination, I said, go ahead and lift your knee. She goes like this. And I'm like, was that the good leg or the bad leg? She goes, that's the bad leg. And I sit there and I kind of go, this is supposed to be a demyelinating disease. The myelin sheath that surrounds the nerve is supposedly gone, so how do we get movement if there's no myelin sheath? I don't know. Do I really care at the end of the day? No, not as long as you can move that leg, right? So pain that's been there for 2 years in a young lady that was here just about 3 weeks ago. It was called chronic regional pain syndrome, which I think is a completely bogus diagnosis. Their answer to that medically was to induce so much pain that theoretically the pain circuits of her body would blow. They blow the fuse because of the pain. I'm like, let's just torture this girl until her body finally goes, Uncle, I'm not going to give you pain anymore. Just stop. And in 1 hour treatment, all the pain was gone. All the nausea was gone in that same 1 hour treatment that she'd had for 2 years. The very next day, we kept treating, kept finding more problems to treat, and all the vertigo that she'd had was gone. I mean, and this is just in one hour treatment. And not through suppressing anything. Like, we didn't give her a painkiller, not one. This was getting every single circuit in the body up and running correctly. Do you hear what I'm saying? Every single circuit in your body is set up like your house on multiple circuits. If you could, there would be like a circuit breaker box somewhere in your body that would actually have all these switches are flipped off. Everything on each circuit suffers the same fate, right? If the circuit blows, everything in the kitchen goes out, not just one light bulb, right? Everything on that circuit suffers the same fate. So in the body, it's the same way. When we can turn on all those circuits correctly, using the bioresonance scanning to figure that out and do that, that can happen in one hour visit all the muscles that share those circuits turn on again, all the nerve conduction comes back, just all the integrity comes up to 100%. But if it was a blister in that scenario, you still have your blister, wouldn't you? Right? So there's limitations to what can be achieved in one visit, but when it's just a circuit problem, like I don't know how many people we've had just dramatic improvements in just the first hour. I mean, these are people, something like 100% in probably the last 15 years of people, close to 100% of them, nothing had ever helped them. Not at Mayo Clinic. Some of them been to over 100 doctors already, and nothing had ever helped. They'd only gotten worse. And so in the first visit, to see any improvement, right? Any improvement was remarkable. So BioResonance scanning isn't about me. This is why this place isn't called the Jernigan Wellness Center. It's called the Hansa Center for Optimum Health. I didn't want it to be about me because it really isn't about how glorious I am. It's about how awesome BioResonance scanning is. And BioResonance scanning wouldn't fit on the sign. BioResonance scanning Center for Optimum Health. No, I'm just kidding. Wouldn't do that. So let's keep going. Virtually every problem in the human body has its own frequency based upon its molecular structure and can be detected using BioResonance scanning. So another way we can actually watch and see what's going on in the body, and this has nothing to do with really BioResonance scanning, except we get to use what's called a computerized regulation thermodiagnostics test to see really the impact of everything that we do here. Now this is like the fingerprint. Each of these points is reading over 100 different points in the human body, but this is like the fingerprint for how that software is working inside of your body and how each tissue is regulating itself within each part of the body. Now I was at a conference just recently, and the doctor that was using this type testing, he goes, and he was telling the whole audience of doctors, he goes, get over the idea that you can really change this that much. And I'm like going, come to my clinic, you know, because we'll do this sometimes in like the second test within a week and we can see dramatic change. And yet I had a report writing service for doctors all over the country that used this same test. I used to generate like 7-page like radiology reports, only they were thermography reports that you would be able to use, the doctor could use in a court of law to defend himself, let's say. Just like an x-ray technology person would do. They'd have to have a radiologist write up a report for every x-ray they take, right? And I'd see the 5th and 6th and 7th CRTs of doctors that were just doing massive amounts of IV vitamin C and glutathione pushes and all these Myers cocktails and all this peroxide IVs and ozone therapies, and they're doing hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and they were doing all this right-sounding stuff with these people. And their 5th and 6th CRTs, meaning like 5 and 6 months later, looked like a brand new patient still, like they'd never been treated. So again, when we can shift this, we're shifting some profound things in the human body. And we can shift this in a dramatic way within just the first day, second day, third day. We build upon it. And each visit, when somebody comes here, guess what? More stuff comes off the back burner that your body has. Says, okay, you did that, that's great. How about help me out with this? And so our doctors can keep digging and trying to figure out what does your body need? And how can we support your body's effort to keep yourself moving forward, keep your body able to move forward? Because guess what? Doctors don't heal you. It's like Mark Twain said, God heals, the doctors send the bill. Yeah. We say God heals, we just work for him to restore that perfect design. And when we can get that restoration of God's perfect design, guess what? Health comes speedily. So that is BioResonance scanning.